Here we go. Good morning, I'm Aziff Azuddin. You're watching Morning Headlines, and it's the 1st of August. Now, the general plethora of stories today can be summarized in the front page of with some Malaysia, and you have the MH17 crisis, you have the crisis happening in Selangor, and of course, our usual story of Zionists in Israel. Now, we have a picture here of our Prime Minister Najib Razak and his Dutch counterpart Mark Rutte. They're of course discussing the future for how to deal with the MH17 crisis. It's a very hopeful picture here of what to look forward to, but I think if you look at the inside of the New Straits Times today, you will see accusations being thrown around. Of course, the West, always eager to demonize Russia, has pointed fingers. However, what's interesting to me at least is that Australia has decided to take a neutral stance. Prime Minister Tony Abbott has said that it's too early to point fingers at who was behind this whole conflict of shooting down MH17. However, the Foreign Minister of course has acted on it and said that Russia was behind it. But of course, to me at least, this is a hopeful picture for us to know that at least MH17 can come to a closure, unlike MH370, which of course is still hanging in the air, quite literally. On local home front, however, we have two forms of crisis happening in Selangor. The first one being the wrangling for the MB post. There you have Khalid Ibrahim pitted up against Wan Azizah for the MB post. But what's interesting here, of course, is the internal politicking between PAS, DAP and PKR. DAP, of course, has came out to criticize PAS, who has given the possibility that they're going to leave the Pakatan Coalition to join UMNO. PAS, of course, is standing right behind Khalid Ibrahim, and PKR is a bit silent on what's going on here. But what I find very interesting here is that it's very closely related to the dwindling water supply crisis happening in Selangor. Now, the Malay Mail has a very nice picture here, very somber black and white, with very important data about the water supply, of course, and we are apparently at our all-time low with 33.46% recorded. So I guess Selangor folks are very upset because all this internal politicking, the vying for the MB post, is clearly distracting them from dealing with the water issue at hand. And clearly it's been said that the Pahang water transfer program is not going to be sufficient to deal with this crisis. So guys, really, just stop fighting among yourselves. It's not high school anymore. Sinar Harian, however, always interested in religion, has run the headline here: Israel Sasa Malaysia. So Israel is targeting Malaysia? Not really. If you look at the inside pages, apparently Jerusalem Post, an Israeli newspaper, has of course accused Malaysia for being a breeding ground for Hamas insurgents. Now, according to a Hamas suspect, which the Zionists have captured, has said that Malaysia has become a training ground for paramilitary, but also abducting soldiers in our local front. Now, I don't find this particularly far-fetched, simply because a few months ago, if we remember the rise of ISIS in Syria and Iraq, Malaysian authorities have identified several places within the peninsula which has been training these jihadists to go and fight the holy war against the Shi'is in the Middle East. So I don't think Israel's accusation is that entirely baseless. There must be some basis somewhere. But of course, we have the Sun here, which runs a very international story. Ebola alert. In Africa, more than 600 people have died from this epidemic and more than 1,200 cases confirmed. We're still safe in Malaysia according to the report, but however, we have enough supplies in case it does come here. However, if any of you are identified with these several symptoms, I'll read it out here for you guys: vomiting, diarrhea, high fever, and liver and kidney failure. Now, if you have any of those symptoms, please go to your local hospitals and clinics, get yourselves checked. And finally, a congratulatory note, I guess, to Harian Metro. They have finally returned to their whole nature of being a tabloid. Now, of course, as we realize, Harian Metro has been a bit sober for the past few weeks following the Zionist attack at MH17, but of course now they've gone back to their typical nature of cleavage. Actresses, Mati Makan Kambing, I'm not entirely sure what that is about, but a very attractive headline. And of course, our human interest stories covering the front page of Harian Metro. So guys, welcome back. And my word of the day today is accusation. Zionists are accusing Malaysia of being a breeding ground for terrorists. But also on the geopolitical front, why is Russia being accused so strongly by the West? Political reasons, economic reasons, or is it just the Second Cold War coming to fruition? And of course, not to forget Tony Abbott's stance in this whole deal, Malaysia's stance in this whole deal, in fact, to not accuse anyone while the facts are still not out fully yet. And that's all I have for you for this morning's headlines. I'm Aziff Azuddin, BFM 89.9.